Well, everybody, it's been a great day from everything that I've seen so far. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Charles Adkins. I'm currently the Global VP of Marketing here at Admix. I actually started in tech in the 90s, so I tell people one of my first clients was Yahoo. That gives you an idea of how old I am. I'm sure many of you were around for the first cycle of that. I've been dug deep in this space for quite a long time, and I think that's something that is kind of my superpower, is the ability to spot these cycles and really see how exciting this space actually is. And I get asked the question all the time, how early are we? And a lot of people tend to tell me, we're basically, 1996. We're at the AOL stage of where the internet cycle was. And for me, I think that's far further than where I would put it. For me, I see this as kind of 1986. There was TCP/IP as far as a protocol. There was no www. You couldn't go into a search browser and basically find anything that you wanted to do before we brought on those protocols. And that kind of is the same for the metaverse right now. Is we have a lot of different virtual lands out there. A lot of them don't interoperate because we don't have a standardized protocol just yet. So kind of to the point what Marty was just saying is, you might be building or renting in one space, and maybe you find out in the future that's not the right space. But hopefully by that time, we will have an interoperable protocol. I do know some universities are working on that. We may have a standard avatar protocol that allows you to go into all of these virtual worlds, Web3 based, and traditional gaming based. You may walk around in Fortnite and transport yourself into Decentraland at some point, as long as that protocol is accepted by everybody. And is it okay to be this early? And I always say yes, and then quickly follow up with the example of Pizza Hut, right? Pizza Hut was one of the first brands to have a website. And why did they do it? You couldn't go on there and submit an order. You couldn't really do much on it. There was no inline images. There wasn't even a picture of a pizza on it. But what they were doing was they were collecting email addresses. That's the one thing you could do very well. So they got in the space, they, stood up their website and started collecting email addresses. And by the time email marketing was a thing, by the time they had an online ordering system, they had hundreds of thousands of email addresses. And that's where I feel a lot of things in the metaverse are. If you 10 years from now, if you were one of the first people in the space and you now have 10 million wallet connections into your location, you're going to have a far advantage over somebody that starts in the year 2028 or 2030, for example. It's like being in Facebook advertising in 2008 when they first launched the program. And you see how fast that time goes by. People don't realize that it's been 15 years plus since Facebook launched an advertising platform. And 15 years from today, we're talking 2035, 2036. This is when big technology is going to be happening. So I think it's important for people to be in now. Another concern people always bring up is, the industry cycle and where people are. And we've seen this market take a big dip, and that brings a lot of fear into people. But this is a typical industry cycle, not just a tech cycle. And I always use the story of auto manufacturing before the Great Depression. A lot of people don't realize there was over 600 automobile manufacturers before the Great Depression because it was such a new and exciting industry. And a lot of them took financial hits. A lot of them weren't building great products. There wasn't a standard way to do it. And they went out of business after the Great Depression. But what happened was the best talent consolidated, the best brands consolidated. A lot of the great companies were hiring the best talent out there. So as major brands, that's one thing I've been suggesting is don't put a freeze on future technology hiring, because right now a lot of these people in the space are, they're looking for work. They have great backgrounds, and this is where you can consolidate some of the best, tech talent in the industry. And kind of what I touched on before is being in now. It's you really want to get started on that data collection. It's going to be a single source of identification, so you're not really dealing with somebody on your loyalty app using 5 different email addresses, 3 different credit cards. This is going to be a single source, sovereign self-identity where people log in with their wallet. It's going to go across all of the interoperable, metaverses, and you'll be able to track that loyalty with more intentionality than just a basic Web2 based app. And the reason that we believe so deeply in the metaverse side, and with our whole background in gaming, and really one of the main reasons that I came into Admix. I spent my entire year last year as one of the vice presidents at Polygon, which a lot of people know is a layer 2 blockchain. And we were part of the reason that we brought on DraftKings and Prada and Dolce and Gabbana. We brought all those brands into the NFT space, and now they're looking into the metaverse space as well. But what really attracted me to Admix was the background in gaming, non-intrusive game activations, and that's something that's going to be so important when you're thinking about the metaverse, virtual worlds, and doing these activations. Like Marty said, you can't just put something up there and have it be your standalone forever. You may need to think about how to do mini games and how do you gamify your space. It's going to be a 3-dimensional website where you're going to want to make people excited to be there. And I always use Starbucks as an example as well. During the holidays, they have their holiday games, which are basically mini games, trivia, things that are fun to do. And people engage with the app far more just because of those simple games, where the rest of the year, typically it's just a basic app-based loyalty system. So the metaverse is that to the 10x level, because now you can gamify an entire space. It may be immersive with VR, AR, it may just be on a monitor game, but now you can gamify that loyalty and you can really see who's there every day. And that's why it's important to always think about having gaming in your back pocket and how you're going to make these things exciting, for the people to go and walk around in and do things. And when you have that activity what drives community. And I think a lot of brands are really striving to have that community out there. The community will strengthen a brand, but not every brand has a community. Some people just have great products and they don't necessarily need a whole community around it. But the metaverse is one way where it's going to enable some of these only product focused brands to create that activity through gaming. And then that gamification and that loyalty is what creates a really strong community-based loyalty. So that's another reason that I think being here at Admix and being able to work on gaming all the way from Fortnite to Roblox to Sandbox, Decentraland, anything in a virtual world basis has been so exciting for me, and why it's been so exciting to talk to everybody here today. And the future is definitely going to be fully interoperable metaverses, and we're going to have single sovereign identity where we're the ones that verify it, and then maybe we walk through all of these activations as our avatars, or as a completely anonymous vision to other people, but we've already verified ourselves through a basis where we're not sharing that with brands, but we'll be able to age gate. And there's a lot of concern around how do we age gate people for alcohol and casino activations, and we can do all of that. We've done that in gaming and gaming advertising already. I think in-home computing is going to be something that comes back really strong. So that's something I think at the edge, if we're trying to render these high fidelity, those Ready Player One versions of a future that we think of, we're all going to have to participate in shared computing. And I know this is something in old school networking that people have done forever. You basically just run spider programs to see who it is in the office that's not using their computer, and maybe you use a little bit of their computing power. And I think a lot more people within society are going to have to utilize that shared computing power to render these incredible immersive environments at the edge. So that's something to also think about. And I think, we're not too far off from that. We're maybe 5-6 years away from something that can be fully immersive. We're probably 10 years away from really implementing 6G at a meaningful level and going past 5G, which is what we need now to run VR and AR really well. And then I think lastly, just keep things realistic. I mean, there's a lot of times it's just so much easier to, pick up a phone, send a text message or an email, and not, go to the metaverse Uber stand and pick up a ticket and wait for your voucher and have them text you. And there's just a lot of things that I think could be simplified in this world. And, don't think the metaverse is the solution for everything, because there needs to be some really thoughtful and meaningful processes that go into that. So I want to thank you all. This has been an incredible day. Thank you for joining us. If you want to reach out to Admix, you can reach out to Marty at admixplay.com. You can reach out to me, charles.adkins at admixplay.com, or reach me on LinkedIn. Big shout out to all of our speakers today, our sponsors, and of course the audience. That's you. Be sure to check out Brand Innovators website to learn about the upcoming events, and I hope all of you have a really great day. Thank you so much.